So, welcome to our virtual coffee with our illustrator. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you. It's such a joy being here.
I remember when we first started talking, um, I had reached out to the Pencil Mileage Club, that's the correct name, right?
Yes.
Um, about the idea of maybe when I found out that this would be virtual, to maybe get some illustrators on board. And then you and I started talking, and we quickly realized that we just really had this great connection. I'm so glad that you agreed to be on this project with me.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so honored that you took me on because when I heard even like this idea that you had, I was so excited because The Little Prince, I've heard of it since I was little, and then seeing you bring it such like a new voice through your own vision and through the orchestration and the costume designs, it was just very exciting. And I'm so happy that it all came together and we're going to see it very soon.
Yes, it's going to premiere next Saturday. I can't believe it. It was such a, even looking back, it was such a long process. And then COVID just seems like it became even longer, even though it kind of became shorter. It's a weird dichotomy. You had never read the book before you started the project, right? You just recently read it in Armenian, if I'm not mistaken, right?
So, in middle school, we had actually watched a film, or the original film. But when you're younger, you don't take things too seriously, and it's kind of like, oh, it's a funny, silly film. It doesn't really mean anything, or like your classmates are messing around in the background, so you can't focus on it.
True.
Um, so I never knew like the details of it. But actually, my sister surprised me with an Armenian copy of it, and she ordered it from Armenia, I believe. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and I have it right here. I don't know if the virtual background will let us. Yes.
Oh, wow. That looks so beautiful.
Yeah, and then there's the illustrations inside as well. Oops,
Mm.
I don't know if it's showing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just very exciting to see how global this story is and the languages it's translated in and the way that it connects with other people too. I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah, yesterday I was at a donor event with the College of the Arts dean, and we got to talk right before, and he was saying that he used it for one of his classes for over 20 years, where he would ask students, who is your lamplighter in your life, or who is your, which I thought was so unique. I love that there are so many different interpretations for the story, that you can go and take stuff that always makes it come back. It's such a really common story, even though it's so unique. It's common to all of it. It's kind of like a quote I once heard: the more in detail you talk about your own life, the more people can relate, which is kind of, it seems the opposite, but it's somehow it works that way. It's interesting. Do you want to
Definitely.
talk to us about how, so when we first started talking about the virtual backgrounds, we had the idea from Zoom actually when we met, and we thought of, why couldn't we use Zoom backgrounds, and or kind of use that idea and create backdrops. And then I believe this may have been one of the first scenes that you maybe did, the backdrop of the Little Princess Planet. How did you go about creating the designs for the story?
Yes. So once you and I started talking about kind of the story and your vision, and then deciding on doing kind of like the green screen slash Zoom backgrounds, I was looking up kind of the illustrations from the book, and then you also found the PDF of those wonderful illustrations from the original book. So I took inspiration from that. Um, and also, you helped guide me in the kind of storytelling aspect where you told me, oh, there's this scene that I recall from the film or the story when you read it. And why don't we implement it into like a background? And then once we did like the revisions and also playing around with the colors, I think it all came together that way. So I really love the collaborative aspect of it and the way that you and I went back and forth. We kind of fed off of each other and learned together as well through the process.
Yes, absolutely. I love how whenever you would send me a text and say, "Hey, I just did this. What do you think?" Or I would think of something, "Oh, I just realized this scene. Can we incorporate this?" It was such a beautiful virtual collaboration because we have never actually met in person. That's still bizarre to me. It feels like I know you and like we've worked together for such a long time.
I love this connection as well, even though it is distant and we can't meet in person due to the circumstances. I feel like you said, we knew each other and the way that we flowed kind of it worked very well, and we were both open with communication, so that was extremely helpful too.
Mhm. So you created a scene for, we started the story with the little princess backdrop, which is this, and then you created a planet for every character that he meets in Act One, the king, the businessman. Can you talk about the way you chose colors, perhaps, or different interplays of colors?
Sure. So for colors, I think I just um, thought about like for the king, like, oh, what color does royalty kind of bring me back to? Or um, even for, I believe it was for the vain man, like those equations or like the clapping and things like that, just kind of incorporating the characters' personalities into it as well. Just so visually, when someone sees it, they understand the character's traits, but also tying in like those colors and making sure that everything is harmonizing and also reading well if it were to be used like as the background. So I think it was just a lot of thinking and going back and forth on what is really visually like once you see it in that moment, like within seconds, you could kind of grasp the idea of the scene or the character that's being reenacted. So yeah.
I think that totally, I've been mentioning it so much. I feel like this, having these backdrops really added that last touch of magic that the story kind of needed. Because, like you said, every backdrop kind of immediately you see it pop on the screen, and immediately you get a feel for what place the little princess in now, especially when he goes to the king's planet, or then the businessman, all the numbers instead of stars, and the clapping for the vain man. I think it's, yeah, that was so beautiful. And even the lamplighter was perhaps the hardest scene for me to edit because so you created one backdrop with the light on and one with the light off. My actor actually, I think he thought his hand was always in the right place, but it was always in a different place. So I actually had to cut every time he lifted his hand. I had to cut it so that the lamp is actually by his hands.
Oh my gosh.
But it was, I think, even then, like, it was such a beautiful effect that we got to create this kind of world coming to life when it was all just really sterile. If we think about it, all the green screens, nobody really interacting with each other. It's, I'm excited to share the final result. I think the the art of it will really translate on screen, I hope.
No, thank you. And I'm just so excited to see all your hard work coming to life. And I know how much you love this project and persisted even when circumstances changed on us. The way that you committed yourself to it and you followed through, and the way that it's presented. And like, I'm so excited to see your vision come to life.
Thank you so much. So what you also did is you actually animated characters for the credits. Would you like to talk about that a little? How your characters were inspired or the different motions that they do?
Sure. Actually, I've never taken an animation class, and I was just messing around with a software called Procreate on the iPad, which I use to create the illustrations and what I mainly use to draw now. So I was just thinking of like small gestures or like soft movements, again, that could play into the characters' roles and tell us a little bit more about them. And also just watching films and seeing like the end credits and the little animations that they do, like the artists and the visual development artists. It's just always so fun and playful. So um, I think it was just really fun incorporating that into your orchestrated Little Prince film. So I didn't really have um, like specific references to each movement, but just went with it as we kind of discussed further.
Yeah, the different qualities. I remember the businessman is more angry, so he has like an angry expression that moves, and then um, the fox moves his eyes, which is very wise. He's just still, but just moves his eyes. And then the rose is so pretty. Did you have a favorite character to animate? Was there one that you had specific joy creating?
Oh, that's a great question. I think each of them were, it was just like really exciting getting to just create them and make them their own unique individuals in a sense. Because, like you said, like each of them had a different emotion or characteristic. So one was angry, or the other one was like more subtle, or like the rose was very, fragile and beautiful. So I think just getting to um, kind of like edit and play with each of them was just a wonderful experience.
Yeah, I honestly can't wait for you to. I know you haven't seen all of it yet either. I can't wait for you to see how your art really played into the story and made it come to life. I'm truly so grateful that we met and by serendipity, kind of, but that we really were able to create this beautiful work of art. And I can't wait to share it with the world. I hope people will see it and see your art in it.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so appreciative that you took me on for this role and just getting to work with you. And also just looking forward to all the performances by the actors and the musicians and even like the costume designs and just like that small trailer. Even in like a couple of seconds, I already saw how much love and dedication went into it from everyone, and especially you editing that and dedicating so much time to it. So I'm just thankful to you as well.
Thank you. I know you're graduating this semester as well. What's next for you? What's on the horizon for you as a next project or work?
So, as for many of us, for students and non students, graduates, it's been a very challenging year to say the least, with the virus coming along and us being strayed away from classmates or professors and getting that one on one kind of connections and collaborative environment. It's been difficult to navigate, but it's also been such a wake up call to us to see how one thing can change so much. And it really made me realize what I wanted to do, in the future, or what's important to me in life in general, because we never know what's going to happen next. Um, so I'm excited to graduate, of course. Being finished with just those assignments being due all the time back to back and having more of that breathing space to take on projects as they come. Um, so I think for me, I'm just looking forward to doing projects with other uh, artists as well, or just collaborating with everyone, whether that be like a children's book or a short film, or even working with a studio would be such a gift. I'm currently taking on an internship with an organization that kind of amplifies diversity for Armenia. So that's really exciting. And yeah, I don't have specific goals right now for the future, but I know that I definitely want to pursue something in the arts and just continue my passion in that way.
Congratulations on that internship. That sounds super exciting.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I honestly, I very much look forward to anything that you create. I'm a big fan of your work. I immediately when I saw I know you're on Instagram, you're posting constantly and just creating, and you have such a unique vision, and your characters are just, even even just a simple character, you put such heart into it, and you just make them come alive. It's really a beautiful gift that you have.
Oh, thank you. That means so much. I really, really appreciate it.
I Yeah, I'm excited to see where you go next. I know this year was kind of a difficult year to get through, a very isolating experience, and I'm glad to see that you're kind of coming out of that. And it kind of ties in a lot with The Little Prince, I feel like, with the story of realizing that journey, of realizing what really matters in our life. I feel like we've all been on that kind of trajectory of a journey of finding out what truly matters in our busy and hectic lives that we've created. And it kind of gave us a chance to slow down and see at the end of the day what's really important in our lives.
Definitely. And even though it's a very hard thing to do, just to take time and just to reflect on what's my next goal or what's going to make me happy in this moment or in the future, I think that's very important. And it allows us to kind of reflect on our past and also how we could better ourselves in the future and just live a happy life, even aside from work, just in our own personal lives. And yeah, so and it's crazy to see how full circle everything has gone with The Little Prince and the way that it relates to us in our own lives too, like you said. I think that's incredible.
Hmm. Maybe as a last question, now that you've read the book, as you read the book, was there a favorite scene or favorite part of the book that you had after reading it?
I think I just really love the overall connection between the prince and the rose, and just kind of the curiosity that the character has all throughout the story, and the people he comes across, and the things that he learns, and the way that he applies these lessons like to his life, and kind of comes to appreciate certain things and like the beauty of the rose. And I love like the kind of his thinking aloud and allowing the audience also to think with him and kind of apply those lessons to their own lives too. I just love the overall theme of it. The illustrations are stunning, and just the way that the legacy of this story and the book has, gone through so many generations and continues to live on through people like you who come up with fresh new ideas and bring new life to it. I think that's just my favorite part of the overall story.
I love that. Yes, I loved you, and I think there was a singer too that had never read the book, and after being on the project, he was the lamplighter. He was like, I feel compelled to read the book now. I feel like that's such a gift that we can also pass on with this production, is to make other people that have not read the story to actually maybe read it and have this little tiny book live on, because it's such a huge world that the author created.
It really is. And it just gave me the opportunity to kind of dwell into like a new imaginative work aside from school. And it was just a very like fun project to work on and think about something other than, the typical like stories that we see every day or the common themes that we see in films or books. So it was really great.
Yeah, honestly, thank you so, so much for being part of this project and for your dedication to it, your art, and your soul that you shared with this production. It's truly, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It was really lovely working with you and collaborating with you. I hope we'll get to work again together in the future.
Oh, of course. And it's such a pleasure just to be here and talk with you as well on this project. Because it was fantastic and I wouldn't want it any other way. And yes, definitely, I would love to collaborate with you once more, or several times, how many times
Yes,
as you like in the future.
absolutely. And I love what you just said. Um, Now it slipped my mind. The fact that it was, this unique collaboration, it was perhaps what it needed, this project. You said I couldn't imagine it any other way. I absolutely agree. I think looking back, yes, of course, I had envisioned it to be on stage, but now that it's here now, this is how it had to be. Somehow this was exactly what the story needed and how it had to be. So here's to serendipity of us
Yes,
meeting. It's like the little prince just meeting all of those different characters, and they all have a meaning and add to our lives.
definitely. And congratulations on such a wonderful production. And again, just super, super excited to see it later this month. And I'm just so proud of you and all you continue to accomplish in life and scholastically and otherwise. It's just really fantastic that we got to bond this way and seeing each other's growth and being there like in support for one another has been really helpful. So I just look forward to everything that you also do in the future and continue to sprout in your artistry as well.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck with all of your finals and all of your continued projects.
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
Thank you.